I just returned from the most fantastic trip to the Ballinglen Arts Foundation in Ireland. I didn't know anything about the place before I went. I went to take a workshop with Jerry McLaughlin in cold wax. And I've been doing cold wax for probably 5 or 6 years, but not as my primary medium. So it was important to me that I learned to flow with the medium, and I was hoping that that would happen during this workshop. A little bit of a FYI, it actually did happen to me during this workshop, so I'm really happy to share that with you. A little bit about the Ballinglen Arts Foundation. It is in Ireland, in County Mayo, Northern County Mayo. Their mission is to generate, implement, and manage projects in the visual arts for the benefit of the public, which are intended in particular to enhance cultural awareness and understanding, as well as vitality of the societal and economic climate in North County Mayo. So the foundation endeavors to achieve these objectives by the creation and operation of its programs: fellowship, residency awards to visual artists, education, learning, that's the school's program, and exhibition in the Ballinglen Museum of Art and the Ballinglen Gallery, and workshops and master classes. So the workshops and master classes is what attracted me, and I have known of other people who've gone there, and it seemed to be pretty amazing. So I didn't know really what to expect. It's set in a beautiful landscape in Ireland, view of the ocean. It's a very small village, but the foundation itself is spectacular, with a very impressive museum and gallery. So I think there were about 8 of us in the workshop. We were all housed in different locations. It seems like the foundation has houses spread out, and I was in a little 3-bedroom house with 2 other roommates, which we all had our own private bed and bath. I started out the workshop very much, I wouldn't say a beginner, because I had taken workshops before. I would say as a very kind of insecure cold wax artist, or maybe not even insecure. Let's just say I started out and I was not the most confident in the medium of cold wax. Jerry McLaughlin had set an expectation for us, and that was that we would work on an intention and that we would complete a series, a body of work. I took that very seriously, and as Jerry suggested, I started my series in my studio here in Crockett, and I worked on 5 pieces that I brought with me. During the course of the 1-week workshop, I completed 4 of those pieces and 3 additional pieces. Also, I did 28 smaller works on paper. I thought it was a very successful workshop. I thought I really did come up with a theme and a body of work. My theme changed a little bit. I started out wanting to do rocks and sticks and stones, and I ended up doing boats. Now, the thing about focusing on one subject is it kind of eases up the pressure of what you're supposed to do. So every time I approach a clean piece of paper, I know it's going to be some kind of a boat, or it's going to be the result of what the boat reminded me of, which were some kind of fish at times, different types of boats. There was different speed in some of the pictures, some slow, some fast, some crashing, some drifting. But just knowing they were boats made it easier to concentrate on the medium itself. I finally started becoming comfortable with the medium, letting the medium of cold wax and oil become movement, become texture, become speed, become volume. And I didn't have to be so tentative about the beginning stages of creating texture. I could build texture with my motions, my movements, the same way I do with acrylic. I wasn't working on huge triptychs. The pieces were quite small. I don't think anything bigger than maybe 18 by 20 or 16 by 20. But I could build the motion into the material. It's a little hard to explain, but I got there and I loved it. So I feel that I'm a much more confident cold wax artist at this point. And Jerry even recommended that I might want to think of putting cold wax over my acrylics to combine the two mediums, which is interesting to me. He looked at my website and said what he loves about my cold wax work is the texture that is physical. I've always built visual texture into my acrylics, but if you feel them, the surface is smooth. If you feel the cold wax, the surface is rough. Texture's interesting. Like color, you want to add a variety. You want to contrast the textures. Deep texture, middle texture, fast texture, slow texture. I began to think of texture pretty much in the same terms that I think about color. And that was new for me. It's not random at all. It's very, very deliberate. And I learned to make it deliberate. And that was something that I hadn't expected. It rained most of the time that we were there, which was interesting because we really only concentrated on the art. There wasn't a lot of sightseeing. We did have a couple of days that we went to the beach and we went to a wonderful kind of a natural history museum that talked about the bogs and how they were created and the Neolithic times, and really, really quite interesting. But the focus of the trip was get up in the morning, paint, have lunch together, paint, have dinner together, and then I would go home and go to bed. I was a little bit isolated in my accommodations. There was a pub in town, and in the pub, they painted a picture of Joe Biden, quite a large picture, and their intention was to bring it to see Joe Biden. Joe Biden came and visited in Ballinglen, which was about 30 minutes away when we were there. They brought the painting to him, and they actually got a picture of him viewing it. I don't know if they got him to sign it. That's what they wanted, because they wanted to hang it in the pub as their claim to fame. It was really quite exciting to have Joe Biden visiting while we were there. The beaches were beautiful. The stone walls were incredible. The focus of the workshop was just fantastic. And to me, there is no greater joy than traveling to a beautiful country and to study art in a very, very concentrated way with a group of people that has the same focus. That's the ultimate to me. And this trip just exceeded my expectations in every way. Guess what? I'm back. Welcome back to I&I Studio, back from Ireland. And I just want to do a little unwrapping of the work I did there, and it's all in this envelope. Simple as that. Brought it back in my suitcase, no big deal. Chuck hasn't seen the work yet, so let's pull it out. Okay.
There's a lot in there.
There's a lot in there, and I'm hoping that it traveled okay. Some of this was quite wet. This one in particular. Now this is a real work in process. This is in no way resolved. It's quite thick and quite wet.
Just like I like it.
Traveled beautifully.
Good contrast on it, though.
I think that, you know, it's beginning to find its form, and I'll work on that a little bit tomorrow.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like the black coloring and it's graphic. This one's more work.
So what happened when I was there is I really started getting in touch with paint as being paint. So rather than just kind of aimlessly making marks and making texture, I started purposefully making marks and making texture. And I can illustrate that. I'm going to show you that in some of the smaller ones. That the paint actually really tells a story. And I don't know if there's any way that you can really see the texture. But I learned that texture is an element very much like color. The variety of texture is very similar to the different tones of color that you would put in. And I've never really thought about texture that way. I thought of it as a little more random. I never thought I was a huge fan of texture, and it turns out I am. This one's sticking a little bit, but I don't think there's any harm done.
No. That's like a real plastery one almost.
These are the last two I've showed you are later in the trip, when I really got more purposeful and more confident in what I was doing. This texture on the bottom almost reminds me of the skin of a humpback whale.
Maybe I can move this up and just tilt it so they can do a tilt here. So they can maybe see the texture. I don't know if you guys can see all that, but I'm trying to give you a bird's eye view. Great.
These are the paper pieces. We'll get into those in a minute.
So these are all on multimedia board, right?
Yeah, and I'll mount these. This is, I didn't work on this one. I was there. It's that octopus I started here. I still like it. I just want to do some fine tuning on that. So my theme was boats, as you can see. This was about midway, when the paint starts getting very thick. The texture starts getting thick and purposeful. I'm not as crazy about the composition on this. I just don't think there's a lot of tension here. But sometimes you want a peaceful composition, and that's what that is.
I like that real heavy mark and the line works too.
Yeah.
Sometimes subtle is good.
Sometimes.
Need the rest.
Yeah. One of the classmates bought one of them, so one of them didn't make it home. I had started this one here. Love the line work. And I love this subtle grayish green up here. I thought that turned out to be a really beautiful piece.
Yeah, trim it too. So it works in a couple nice different directions. Look at that. Really changes.
It does. And this is the last of the larger,
Oh, I love that. Like the mummy.
more well-worked piece. It reminds me of a stack of 3 boats.
Or silk moths.
Silk moths. That would be a great name. It sort of reminds me of a clipper ship.
I saw this piece on TV the other day where they had moths working around a ceramic piece onto a table, and the moths were spinning, silk threads all around. It's pretty cool. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah. It's got all those little hash marks in there, but
Nice.
I'm definitely more fluid in the medium than before Ireland. Something happened to me. I transformed.
It rained on her for a week.
Rain.
She got real fluid.
Yeah. Oh,
Nice.
This is a piece I love.
Yeah.
These are quick on Arches oil paper. I did 4 a day times 6 days. I did 24 of these. So they're not as well worked.
Yeah, fast.
But they're
really nice.
They're lovely and really helped me with my composition. I'd like to get these mounted and put them in a grid format. Boats.
Cool.
They're boats, and I also see fish.
Oh.
This one also,
It's like icebergs, moving into the water.
Yeah.
With a bit of sun hitting over there, like the thaw. That's beautiful.
This is one where the
reflection.
paint began
Wow.
to really tell a story.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that.
I love this one.
Cool.
And what I mean by the paint telling a story, look at this area here where this texture mark kind of floats over the top of this shape here.
Yeah, like it spills over.
It spills over.
Yeah.
So it tells a story. It's not flat, it's raised.
Could be like smoke up here, and this could be like water flowing over.
Yeah, like a little
steam.
waterfall.
Yeah, maybe like a hot geyser. Got those kind of colors. Nice.
These need to get mounted. They're really quite nice. Love this one. This is one of the last ones I did. And I love the tension in it. It's very thick. So you can see where I just, pulled the paint down, and it's got this downward motion, and then this comes up and touches the corner.
It's like one of those Dutch windmills, one of those big
Yeah.
ones with a movement going like that, like it's moving. Nice.
This is another with a very thick paint.
These are great. It's all cold wax, right?
All cold wax and oil.
Thick oil. Okay, so wow.
I
It's like a wall.
thought this one was interesting because of the white here is like water flowing.
I see like a wall. You tilt it this way, you see like it goes down like a corridor. Look at that. God, that's gorgeous.
Well, there were a lot of walls there,
Like
beautiful rock walls. Yeah, see, I like the tension in some of these. They're not static. Now this one is the one I wanted to tell the story about because this is when I really started getting it. So what happened is the white paint, I scraped it down thick, and it's like the paint came down, hit the boat, knocked the boat down into this white kind of block shape. So it's a story of texture. I'm happy at how well they traveled.
I'll say.
Kind of a quiet sea. I kept,
It's like sea and ice.
yeah,
That's what I keep seeing in a lot of these.
I just kept thinking about the sea and the boats and telling a story. This one's got a round shape in the bottom that's a bit like a stone. Originally, I was going to do stones and sticks, and then it turned into boats.
This is a good thing. Ooh, look at that. We got a figure in this one.
This reminds me of 3 boats.
If you turn it up, it looks like a figure. Look at that.
Oh yeah, 3 figures. This was a little earlier on in the trip.
I like it this way.
Yeah, that's
it's like this
interesting.
walk out. It's
I
like
do
a
like
walking
it.
out there. It's wonderful.
I love it. I know what you're saying. I like that. Gosh, this is almost a repeat.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize I had 2. I'll have to spend some time with
I
these
like it this way. Turn it
and
down.
see
Yeah. See?
3 figures.
Breakfast meeting. Here's more of a boat.
Yeah, this is much earlier in the trip. Could have been the first day, making the quick ones, and the boats started showing up. Not my best, but they're nice. The boat.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
The texture on the boat, I used powdered pigments on that.
Yes, I have a light bounces off in the interior of the boat versus maybe the whitewash that it had on the outside. It's very nice. Another great vanishing point.
Here's another one, probably a little later in the journey, with the paint being thicker and more expressive. These also were really quite early in the journey. A little different color scheme. Not as expressive with the paint, but I was beginning to understand what I was wanting.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, they're all fun. Same with this one, a little earlier in the journey for me.
Swamped.
But I see a progression. That might go
Yeah, I like it
like that.
Yeah.
It's almost like a shadow, boat with a shadow.
A lot of ice and water.
Well, there was a lot of water. A lot of water. We were on the ocean. There was a lot of rain. So I did feel the water.
Great vanishing point.
This is probably one of the last ones I did, which again got a little more subtle. So I went into the real expressive paint, and then I kind of backed off and got pretty refined and
I like it.
Beautiful color that I started concentrating on mixing the color. So
I don't know how they're showing up on the camera, but they're really vivid here in the light because I'm looking at the reflection, but my eyes are really tired and I'm getting glare out. So, but they really have a lot of nice subtle contrast on the surfaces. They're almost like a soft, pillowy look to them, and they're wonderful.
you can really see the differences in my colors from the beginning ones that were a little sweeter to a little more sophisticated with some subtle pops, a little more earthy.
Oh. Red, white, and blue. With little Payne's gray. That's great.
Joe Biden's visit to Ireland, right?
Yeah.
a little patriotism there.
The flyover. That's cool.
I just started leaving the paint be paint and not fooling around with it as much. As you can see with the streaks coming down, it's like, it's okay to be paint. And I'm that way with acrylics, so I was happy to really kind of get that with the oil. And that's it.
Yay. Wonderful.
I'm back,
great to
and I will be continuing with the cold wax. Jerry suggested that I might incorporate cold wax over the top of some of the acrylic paints, which I think is interesting, and I might try it. So we'll see what happens. I'm still jet lagging. We're both exhausted. We'll see you later. Thank you for visiting, and go to the studio. It's a practice. It's taken me a long time to get to this stage with cold wax, but I am feeling pretty good with the medium. Practice makes perfect, right?
That's right. Yep.
See you
Always
later.
helps.
Bye.
Bye.